Welcome back to Talking Sports with Chris. I'm Chris, and today I will be revealing my top three most impactful players from the wide receiver market from this NFL free agency. Now, first, it's Calvin Ridley joining Tennessee Titans for a 4-year, $92 million deal. This is big for Tennessee. Especially because they just traded for L'Jarius Sneed from the Chiefs, so the Titans just now acquired L'Jarius Sneed, and the Chiefs get a 2025 third round pick and a 2024 seventh round pick for L'Jarius Sneed. And now the trade is pending a physical, per Adam Schefter, just now. So. But then Calvin Ridley comes to now. I think it's a decent Titans team after they just got L'Jarius Sneed for that defense. Oh my gosh, that came out of nowhere. I just got the notification from Schefter, and now L'Jarius Sneed is a Titan. So that's good timing right there. But this gives Titans another good weapon as they pair him up with Traylon Burks, Tyjae Spears, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins, and Will Levis being their starting quarterback now. I think the Titans have a decent team. I mean, for that defense, obviously they just got L'Jarius Sneed, which is big out of nowhere. Um, and they still have Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry Jr. So that's big for the Titans. I'm still so starstruck from that trade for L'Jarius Sneed. Like, good for the Titans because they weren't too good last year. I mean, didn't make the playoffs. And they lost Derrick Henry this offseason, but to bounce back and to get L'Jarius Sneed, great pickup, and to get Calvin Ridley, and they did sign Chidobe Awuzie, the cornerback. I think the Titans have a decent offseason. Now back to the main thing being Calvin Ridley. He's always been a decent player. Last year, he had 76 receptions for 1,016 yards, eight touchdowns, which is not bad. 8 touchdowns was tied for eighth last season. And he was part of a decent, good Jaguars team with Trevor Lawrence, and now he's always been a decent player. It sucks that he missed that. I think it was like he missed the 2022 season after having the gambling suspension. But in 2018, he played 16 games with 64 receptions off of 92 targets and 821 yards with 10 touchdowns. Like, yardage wise and touchdown wise, Ridley's always been good, except for 2021. But he's only played 5 games and got like 281 yards and 2 touchdowns. But besides that season, 10 touchdowns 2018, 7 in 2019, 9 in 2020, and 8 last year. That's a pretty good for a receiver, and to pair him up with DeAndre Hopkins, like, I think that's a great pairing for going out to Tennessee. And they just got Tony Pollard too. Like, they have a somewhat of an explosive offense. They're definitely gonna miss Derrick Henry, but I don't know. I think Tennessee is not done yet, and bringing in Calvin Ridley on that huge deal, good for Tennessee. So I think that's gonna make a big impact. It's gonna help Will Levis a lot as well as a quarterback, giving him more weapons. So that's gonna do. I think, in my opinion, that's gonna go out well. That's like the number one impact signing, really, in my opinion. Now, number two, speaking of Jacksonville, they signed Gabe Davis for a 3-year, $39 million deal, $13 million a year, and this is a decent pickup for Jacksonville. It's kind of like the signing to try to replace Calvin Ridley. Now, Gabe Davis is no Calvin Ridley, but he was always kind of stuck in Buffalo. I mean, he barely got any targets with them having Diggs, and they have James Cook, and I didn't think Gabe Davis got, like, he had his moments, but he was too inconsistent, in Buffalo. As like one game he can go for over 200 yards or like 150, and then the next he can like not show up at all. So so Gabe Davis is gonna be like a wide receiver too. But he's still a decent player. He's gonna be behind Christian Kirk in Jacksonville. I mean, last year he had 45 receptions for 746 yards, 7 touchdowns, and it's not bad. For a wide receiver too, it's pretty nice. I mean, he's always been good in Buffalo. I mean, from 20, he's consistently touchdown wise, and for Buffalo. I mean, he's had 7 touchdowns each season besides 2021, which he had 6. But I think another problem is his yardage is a little low. Um, with like he's not cracked 1,000 yard season at all. In his career with 2020 he had 599 yards. 2021 he had 549 yards. 2022 836, and then obviously last year was 746. So he hasn't cracked the 1,000 yard season yet, but I think he's going to be in a new regime. He's going to be under Doug Peterson, um, who's a good coach, and he's going to be with Trevor Lawrence, who I think is a not a better quarterback than Josh Allen, but a better like a pass thrower than Josh Allen, because Trevor Lawrence has a lot less interceptions. Like Josh Allen is a generational player, but Trevor Lawrence, I think he takes care of the ball more, especially interceptions wise. So I think Trevor Lawrence is a better fit for Gabe Davis, and even for the Jaguars, they have such a good 1, 2, 3 punch for at the wide receiver core being Christian Kirk, and now Gabe Davis with Zay Jones, and then they still got Evan Ingram, they still got Travis Etienne Jr. So I think that really helps the Jaguars offense a lot, and they still have a decent offensive line with like Cam Robinson at their left tackle, Ezra Cleveland at left guard, Mitch Morse at center, Brandon Scherf at right guard, and Anton Harrison at right tackle. So that's a pretty good, and they still have a outstanding defense. And they signed Eric Armstead. They got Josh Allen, the defensive Josh Allen, but Ronald Darby, Darnold Savage, like the Jaguars, they're not as good as they were 2 years ago when they made the playoffs and they beat the Chargers. Like, in my opinion, I don't think they're that good yet, like that 2022 good yet, but they're definitely improving. I think there's still moves to make for Jacksonville, but Gabe Davis, I think, is going to be a better player in Jacksonville because of the good head coach, and Doug Peterson. Not saying the Bills head coach is bad, but I think it's all regime style. It's all like where the player fits best. And I think Gabe Davis would fit better in Jacksonville. And it's because another thing is he's probably gonna get more receptions as well. I mean, he didn't get enough in Buffalo because of Stephon Diggs being there, but now since there's not really a big like superstar wide receiver in Jacksonville, I think Gabe Davis is going to be getting more receptions because you split it out evenly really because it's only Christian Kirk, Davis, and Zay Jones. Those are the only true good wide receivers in this Jacksonville Jaguars team. But I think that since that, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to throw more to Gabe Davis. He's going to have more receptions, probably going to have more yards, will bring more touchdowns. So, but we'll have to see through this season if Gabe Davis can boost those numbers up. I really think he will because I mean Jacksonville, like I said before, they're a good team. They got Trevor Lawrence, who's a good quarterback, and they got Doug Peterson, who's a good head coach and won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. So I think it's a good fit. Gabe Davis to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's on a pretty cap friendly deal there with only $13 million a year for 3 years. So, yeah, this is definitely a good signing for Jacksonville. And now, last but certainly not least, Darnell Mooney to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I know what you're saying. Mooney is not big signing. It's not a true impactful signing. But the reason why I think it's an impactful signing is because the Falcons just got Kirk Cousins, and that's big on their part. And throughout this offseason, the Falcons have been trying a lot, getting new weapons um, for Kirk Cousins, and that's why I think Darnell Mooney is going to be a good signing there for Atlanta, because it gives Kirk Cousins another weapon. And Darnell Mooney wasn't even bad in Chicago. So, and think how he wasn't bad in Chicago with a guy like a Justin Fields. Now put him in with a guy like Kirk Cousins. Like, it's gonna be big. Last year, he had 31 receptions, 414 yards, one touchdown. Like, that's not good, but like it's hard because it's the Chicago Bears. Like, hasn't been a good team forever. So I mean, Darnell Mooney has cracked 1,000 yards in a season in 2021. He had 1,055 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like, he's there. He can be a good wide receiver, but like these past 2 years, he's been pretty mid. In 2020, his rookie year, had 631 yards. Like, he's there. He has his showings, and I think it's gonna be better for Darnell Mooney as he's in a better scheme now. He's in a better offense now with Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Aguilar, like Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Rondale Moore, Kyle Pitts, and I think this Falcons offense is gonna be electric this season. Especially because they're building around Kirk Cousins, and that's the best thing. And now, since they have a new offensive coordinator, they're going to able to give more touches to Bijan Robinson and Tyler Aguilar, and more targets to Drake London, to the Kyle Pitts, to the Darnell Mooney, to the Rondale Moore. I think now, I, Darnell Mooney is he's not a needle mover here in this situation, but he adds something to this Falcons offense that I don't think they really had. I mean, before getting Darnell Mooney, they had Drake London. Really, really it. And then they bring in Mooney. They bring in Rondale Moore. Now they still have Bijan Robinson. Now they have Kirk Cousins leading their team. And Arthur Smith is gone. He's not going to be making bad calls like he was last year. So I think this Falcons team's got something going. I mean, and they're in a NFC South team where it's going to be easy to win the NFC South, because there's only the Panthers, who are not going to be good next year. They're going to be the Buccaneers, who I think are the only team that's going to be competing with the Falcons. And then there's the Saints, who I don't think is going to be too good next year. Like, I think they're going to be in the middle of the pack kind of team next year. So think about how, since Darnell Mooney is surrounded more, he's surrounded better with better coaching, a better quarterback here in Atlanta. And think about now, Kirk Cousins going to get more time now, because the Bears has never really, in his span of season, they never really had a good offensive line. So um, now since the Falcons have a better offensive line than the Bears, it's going to give a better more time to Kirk Cousins, who's a better quarterback, to Justin Fields. He's gotten the experience, and now they have a better play caller. Now Darnell Mooney is going to get a higher reception, a higher target rate, which can boost his numbers to get back to what he was in 2021 with his 1,000-yard season. So I think it's going to be great all around here in Atlanta. And real quick, I just want to say Keenan Allen to the Chicago Bears. I was speaking of Bears before, and that's why I remember that Keenan Allen went to the Chicago Bears. I think it's a great signing, or a great trade. Just to say, it's not a signing, it's a trade. But I think this is a good start, because they're going to be building around my Caleb Williams, most likely. I think they're going to draft Caleb Williams. So they're building around Caleb Williams now. After they trade Justin Fields, they signed DeAndre Swift. They still have DJ Moore. They traded for Keenan Allen. They still got Cole Kmet. I think there's more to do with the Chicago team. I mean, they have a decent defense. They still have Jalen Johnson they brought back, Jaquan Brisker. Tremaine Edmonds. They got Kevin Byard. I mean, they still have a decent, they have a decent team. I think it can get better though. I think they can add more. And Keenan Allen's such a good player that's gonna be a big get for Chicago, big get for Caleb Williams. Um, so those are four receivers. Well, three receivers. One kind of honorable mention here because Keenan Allen was traded, not really signed to the Bears. So, but still, very impactful players to come around to these teams. In my opinion, because I think it gives more kind of star power to these teams. It gives more targets for these new quarterbacks coming in, like for the Caleb Williams and the Bears, for the Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, and like you still got Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, and you got Will Levis and the Titans. All these kind of young quarterbacks, and then Kirk Cousins being their veteran. I think it all piles up well with these receiving cores, which start like it kind of starts getting the wheels going for the Bears, for the Falcons, it starts getting the wheels going. And I think in the next 2 to 3 years, these teams could definitely be way better than they were last year. They can definitely be contenders if they just keep these wheels rolling, if they keep making the nice signings, and we still got the draft on the way, so we'll have to see there. But yep, those are my four wide receivers who I think will make the most. All right, those are the four wide receivers that I think will be the most impactful to their new teams. Thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the episode. Next new episode coming Monday. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays every week. So thank you. Have a good night.